Caro Kann defense. Main line and knight f6. This is one of the book move, and bishop f5 is also a good move. So white didn't take the knight. So actually the best move for white is taking the knight, and black will have this pass pawn and white can keep dividing pieces. So this is the book move. So knight g5, white moves knight to attack f7 or control e6. But meanwhile, it gave black some time to take a breath to attack the center, for example. So c5 is okay if you take the pawn, and I can trade the queens, and I can kick your knight. Your knight has moved to f3, and black can move the knight, and later e5 and take the pawn. If white protect the pawn with bishop e3, for example, we can push the pawn to e5. And for example, white develop this bishop, and black can attack this bishop and later take this c5 pawn. So black can be quicker than white in piece development. And apart from c5, another thing black can do is attack the queen. And if knight go to f3, we can kick the knight. We don't need to worry about white sacrifice the knight at f7 because our bishop is guarding this diagonal. So in this game, black play h6 and white sacrifice the knight. So maybe knight e5 come in, knight e7, I think that's a good defense, bishop to c4, and knight d5. I think e6 is also good to consider. If queen to e2, for example, we can then make the knight to d5. The knight is quite solid at the center. We play knight e5, castle, g6, and e6 is also good to be considered. Strengthen the knight, and also later move this bishop to this knight to f6. Bishop can protect e6, or bishop to d6 first, knight f6, rook out, and then make the king safe. So g6, maybe black is going to move the bishop to g7 and f6, but it's a little slow, I think. Rook e1, bishop g7, bishop d3. Oh, this move like make this diagonal exposed. Yeah, that's the problem with the bishop attacking our pawn. So how can we deal with that? Maybe e5, take a knight c5 to trade the bishop, and also move the bishop out later. The bishop can protect e6. Yeah, it's good to trade the knight with the light square bishop, which is a very great weapon to our king side. So g5, queen e2. I think we can kick the knight and force the knight to somewhere away from the center. And if exchange everything, and queen to d2, attack the pawn. It's really hard to protect the pawn, right? And knight e5. Can we play knight e5? Or rook e4, attack this pawn. It's really hard for black to defend this pawn. And if the knight goes to f6, white can maybe queen to c2, check the king. If rook to d1, f8, check it, and b3, rook b2, something like that, or queen b3, c5. Yeah, g5. I feel like maybe there's something we can do at this diagonal. Knight e5, check, king to g8, and take this pawn. The rook is stuck here. Okay, but black can move the bishop here, maybe. Yeah. Okay, let's see how does the game goes. Queen e2, preparing queen e6, knight f8, h4. White is trying to open this file. That's good. g4. This move like make the knight to the center, right? Can we move knight to G8? If you take, I take yours. If you take again, I'm thinking maybe queen D6. Black can counter attack at H2. If G3, black can take this pawn. Still queen G3. Yeah, the king is exposed, but black can maybe attack the white king side with this type of moves. So G4, I think the reasoning is to trying to keep the king side open, closed with G4. But if we really open this H file, I think that favors black because black has a rook at H file. Take knight F6, E6, H5, Queen E7, Bishop F4, A5. Well, A5, I don't see the reason. Maybe B4, A4, B5, A4. Black want to trap the bishop, maybe. B5, yeah. Bishop to D3, yeah. This is a good retreat. Bishop to D7. Ooh, Bishop H4. So now White has this pair bishop. This is so strong. Rook E4. Ooh, this is so great to add pressure on this pinned knight. Okay, how can black defend ahead? After Bishop G3, maybe Rook G8. If Bishop here, we can move the knight to H7. If Rook here, we can move knight to G5. And this is how we can Rook to F4. Move the bishop. At least we can stop this diagonal. Yeah, the problem is we have a knight at F6 and bishop. So there actually are two pins. So the knight cannot move. Not only because of the queen, but also because of the hanging rook. Yeah, so I think black hasn't figured out the plan from white. So that's why we moved the rook to C8. That's a little not very helpful. Knight G5. Ooh. Knight D5. Actually, we can take the queen and rook F7, winning the knight. King G8. We can move the king to G8, or maybe rook F7. But after this exchange, I think it's still very close to equalized. So both have the same material. A knight, a bishop, and the rook is actually over a queen. So it's fine that the rook make to F7, I think. But rook G4, yeah, that is better than rook F7, I think. The black king is quite exposed. Knight F6, this will only make the knight pin. I think rook can still take the G4 pawn. White involve another rook. Queen E3. Can we take the rook? If you take with the queen, I can take your rook, right? If you take with the king, Queen F6. King F, is that mate in rook E4, mate in 3. So white can win the rook, win the knight, but white has very little time on clock. It must be very stressful. I think the rook can take the pawn, and rook black did that. F6, Queen F4. Okay, so both sides are really short on time. King G7. Okay, this is the black king is already exposed. Knight H7 could work. Rook check, we can move the king to H8. The knight can be a good shelter for the king. Queen H6. No, I think rook F3 is better, maybe. If you go down Queen H8 and then win the pawn, win the knight. Also, you can take that with the rook. That's even worse. No, no, no. King E8. King E8 is safer. G7, check again. Knight G8, rook F3. Rook E5. King B8, that's a mate. Yeah. But where can we move the king instead? King C8. Rook F5. It's not easy to find. Take this pawn. And rook C5. Yeah, it's so complicated. Rook G6. Rook F7. The black rook cannot move away from the 7th file. And the queen cannot move. Queen to C7. Rook F8. And go up. And yes, there is always a problem with 7th rank. Yeah, that's why white is winning. Very interesting game. And that's it.